All right, welcome YouTube on this cold friggin' day. What we got going here? Yeah, we gonna go ahead and start what we got going here is a 2013 Ford F350, I believe. Anyway, starting and charging problem. We verified that our alternator is good. This is the single wire alternator, dual battery. So what we've come up with is we've got an OEM front end harness for the charging, starting, everything all in one shebang right here. Brand new. OEM from the dealer is the best way to go on something like this. We got brand new batteries. Everything else is kosher, just won't start. So this is going to be the start of it. Unfortunately, we couldn't get it to my garage, so we're going to do it out here in the snow with this little cute little cover, you know, my little sisters. But, this be it. Bear with us. And as I tear through this, I know we got to take the front wheels off and the air box on the intake side. We'll start off with a few things and stop in video in between where I can. All right, back on it. We've gotten a few things out of the way. First off, undo your batteries, positive and negative. Now this harness is kind of its own thing. That's the new one. We're taking off the old one right now. Got everything loose, and there's two plugs right here and below. Then you got a ground strap that connects to the terminal, and then one positive that connects maybe to a power supply of a few bucks or something. Goes on right there. We have removed the air box and the piping to the connection. We've got the other side opened up, and we noticed there was not a video for doing this year Ford on here. That's why we're making it. We're trying to figure out what all we got to remove. Maybe the turbo tube. Trying to avoid the radiator upper. This guy right here, we're going to try to leave that on. Other than that, we're just going to simply follow this down. And notice there are a couple bigger wire looms like this in this truck. We're just going to follow this one all the way down from the batteries. It's kind of its own thing, so this shouldn't be a major problem. But in the forums that we've read, it has mentioned it's easier to take the tires off so you can get in the wheel well as far as working with it room. So we'll continue on, and I'll get a few more things apart and keep making a video. All right, as we go, I'm just kind of following the new harness. Once again, we've undone both battery cables, a ground strap that goes to the body right there. And then you've got those two plugs, that one and that one. And then this little box right here, I don't know exactly what it's called, but there's a positive cable that connects on right there. 13 mil. These are 8 mils to the battery. Those are just pop clip plugs. This one was an 8 mil single, and then it's two snap-ins down below. And if you grease those, by the way, they go in and out easier. This is the plug that went to this right here. And then we're following it down a couple little plastic clips. Now I'm just kind of following this harness, and it says driver side, passenger side on it. These are those two plugs. There's your terminals. There's that one I just showed you that was the 13 mil. We're going to follow it down. Obviously it has another ground strap, and then some kind of a mounting right here. And then I'm going to guess those might be the starter. From there, come over the other side, you got another ground strap. This is the alternator setup, and that's the battery setup. So I'm just kind of following everything as it goes. I noticed there was no video on YouTube about this, but that's why we do it. We'll make one right now. And I undid all the airbox, the fender well over here. So you got a nice access in there for the starter. And then also over here, I undid some of the turbo tubing so you can get right in the intake. And then you got a 13 mil. This is the alternator. Whoop, hold on, there you go. Alternator bolt down, and there's the plug. The pinch push button is on the bottom side of it. And then up here, I think there was one more clip on the bottom of the alternator. Sorry, I'm trying to get this to focus. But anyway, down around my fingertip on the bottom side of the alternator. These are 7/16 clamps to the turbo tubing. And then some of them have these clips, which let me find it real quick. Anyway, this clip, you simply just stick a screwdriver, pop it up, and then I just put it back in place because it simply just slides on and snaps. You'll hear it snap. So that's the sum of the story. Bear with us and we'll finish pulling this out. I think we're going to pull this wheel well over here to get access in there and just make it easier. But other than that, I think we got 2 grounds left and I'll continue video. All right, I am in the front passenger side wheel well. You got this bracket, which is part of the harness, 13 mil bolt, and I pulled the brake setup as well, another bracket, just to get it out of the way. And then there's a ground, one of the ground straps is that bolt right there, and it goes to this main harness too. And I noticed corrosion in there, so I'd suggest maybe a good Brillo pad or sand it good, clear metal, dielectric grease when you put it back together, but also maybe give it a shot of like Rust-Oleum or something over it. Keep that thing sealed up. And back here on the back side of the motor, kind of hard to get in here, but anyway, at my fingertip, oh, hold on here if I can get my light a hair higher. Anyway, at my fingertip, let's try to adjust this real quick. There we go. Okay. Anyway, you see that nut right there by my fingertip? That is the positive. That's the starter right there. And then I think it's got a couple other miscellaneous plugs in here, and simply shoots this way along the inside of the frame and pops up and connects to like a T in the wiring just below the main harness here, which would probably be right here somewhere in that area. Looks like it has a couple bolts. Then shoots under the front of the motor where like a harmonic balancer would be. I think they're 13 mils, but let me verify that before I lie to you. So bear with me, we're gonna pop all this off. All right, we are under the vehicle front passenger side. Okay, now at the oil housing for the oil filter, you got one here, and it's simply a push clip, and it's on the upper side where you can't see it, of course. Push the tail of it, it opens. Same with this guy. Hold on, let me get some light in there. Right there. These two are on that harness that you're swapping out. And then it looks like it has a bolt up here for the harness mount. So I'm going to figure that out in just a minute and I'll give you that info. Hold on. Okay, back to that bolt for the mounting of the wiring I was talking about. It's like right here at my fingertip. Not really seeable the greatest, but I will tell you it comes in from this side, a 10mm deep socket, about a 4-inch in total width extension and deep socket, and you can get it from right here. Just go straight in and you'll see that little bracket right there. Hold on a second. Every time I go to do this you can't see it. It's behind the sensor almost. And that little bracket right here, that L shape right behind it, my finger's on it. And it goes in over here just above it to the block of the motor. But bear with us, I'm going to try to wiggle this all out. We should be all loose other than one ground on the driver's side just above all this stuff. And I'm going to clean all these grounds anyway. I really want a good connection because we have a problem with charging and starting, and everything else is good. So here we go, bear with me. All right, we're under the vehicle now, front side of the motor. What we got is right here on the socket. That's a mount for the wiring harness, if you can see it. Hold on here, there you go. One there, and then you got like one right about here above it as well. And then you got one ground that goes to the block just above the cross brace of the frame. And I'm going to try to get that in the video in a second so you can see. But other than that, we got the whole other side ready to come down. And I think we're going to pull it out this way. The whole thing, it's got an ear that goes up to that battery, an ear that goes up to that battery, and then a leg that goes back that way to the starter. and the couple of sensors at the oil housing. So we're gonna give it hell, see if we can get it from right here. Bear with me. All right, we are back under the front end of the Ford. Let me zoom out. Boom, let me see if I can zoom out even more. Oh, that's maxed. Anyway, there's a bunch of these little 10mm guys just kind of following the motor up, and I pulled the driver's side down through the bottom. I did pull the steering stabilizer out temporarily for room. Now above this cross member on the driver's side behind the fitting, this is a 90-degree elbow for the radiator line. Right here at my fingertip, there's a ground wire that I literally had to use a nice arrangement of swivel and sockets and extensions to go up to the wheel well. I had my partner go up in the wheel well while I stayed on the bottom and lined that one up. It's a pain in the butt. On this side, passenger side, kind of back here, there's one more that holds one of these plastic fittings on the side of the block in here. Let me show you. I found a little hole in the frame, which actually significantly helped me out. Here's your spring and your bump stop. Anyway, those two holes right there, the round one right in the center of the screen, accesses the nut, the last nut that gets to the plastic of the harness. And then just we removed a little metal bracket to make it easier to get it in and out that was clamped to the wiring right here. That's removed. Let me see if I can find that real quick, but it is on the new harness, this guy right here, which made it a lot easier to get it out as well. We're going to remove this one and replace and put it back on. We're also going to add a separate ground. We noticed that this battery on the driver's side grounds to the block of the motor. This battery on the passenger side grounds to the chassis, the frame, and the body just behind it. So we are going to make one more added ground from the battery directly to the block, and probably do that on both batteries, making sure that this thing has great grounds. There were pretty significant little corrosion on the groundings that were original stock. So let me shut up, get back to work, see if I can pull this out. And there is one more ground wire found right up here, passenger side, and that will be just above the mounting nut for the plastic sheathing on your wiring harness. It's just kind of hidden, so I can't get the camera, but I'll get it in a minute. So bear with us, we're almost done pulling. All right, we got it out of the truck. Took some yanking, pulled the main harness down and fed everything, kind of just folded it up and fed it right out the front side. I did end up loosening the transmission cooler mounted to the frame, little FYI. It gave me a couple inches of slack to actually slide everything out without hurting anything. So you could do it without, but I preferentially did it that way. So now we're taking these two harnesses. We're going to make sure every plug on the original fits. Every single thing is exact same on the new wiring harness. This is an OEM one from Ford, so it should be about $1,000. I know it's more expensive, but certain things you got to spend the money, and this is one of them. So we're going to now compare everything on both harnesses and get this thing, hopefully we'll have an exact match, and start installing it back and get it in today. All right, this thing's giving me hell. I got the new harness slid in from the bottom the same way it came out. You got one leg that comes up here and goes up to the battery on the passenger. One leg that goes kind of behind the frame setup by the motor mount and then pops out down here, which is really hard to see, but hooks to the starter right there. Here's the plug setup. This one and this one go to the starter. This one and this one snap on. I don't know if you can see this, but left and right of that oil filter you'll see two plugs. Okay, now on the other side we've already got it fed up from the bottom, and it takes some wiggling and twisting to get it to form in there. It's got some brackets in there of plastic the wire runs the loom through. Right there is one of them, actually, that has two 8mm bolts that go onto the pump and goes up to the alternator, one plug, one 13 mil bolt that mounts the main charging wire. And then also down here, we're kind of working this out. Sorry, I hope I'm catching everything in this video that you guys need to see. That main plastic loom right there. There is, hold on, let me hold my phone. There's a bolt up here, 10 mil, and a bolt up here, 10 mil. This one's kind of tricky in a tight spot. And then it, like I was telling you, it runs along the frame. That right there bolts side to the motor and the side of the motor. Right above this, there's a ground wire that comes off the loom. There's a separate little harness, this little guy right there with the white on it, and that runs up and goes to the AC pump, if I remember correctly. So anyway, you got a ground here, you got a ground right here, and each one of these comes from each battery. So this one comes from the driver's side battery, that one comes from the passenger side battery. And we're going to add one more ground up top just to make sure that this thing don't ever have this problem again. And as far as anything else, you're going to have to give me a minute to catch up. Here we go. Hold on. Bear with me. All right, back on it. This is the passenger side. Inside the wheel well, there is two plugs and 2 wires that connect here. This is the oil filter housing. You got this one that's on the new harness, and this one that's on the new harness. Just above that is the starter, and there is a mount bracket, and it goes straight in towards the block. It's 110 millimeter up here near my fingertip. Can't exactly see it. Now up here at the top, try to kind of show you the completion here. Okay, if I can get my light in here. Okay, there's your positive. Just below that, there's one more 10 millimeter bolt. This one is a 15, and it's got the plastic cap back on it. They're angled, just make sure they ain't touching or anything. Just mounted good, snug, tight, not over tightened. There's that, and we just got on the bracket. Let me kind of back this off. Anyway, we had loosened the brake line bracket to kind of get everything out of the way. But this is the bracket. Right behind it, it has a ground. This is the new harness, so this purple wire right there. 13 mil, 13 mil, 13 mil. This is the new bracket. We're kind of squeezing it in here because it's a pinch point there and a pinch point there. Hard 90 up. From there, we go ahead. We got our battery connections. This guy right here, as shown when I was in the disassemble of the video, right here at the nut, my fingertip. And then I think this was an accessory for air pump or something. And you're pretty much good. This one goes back on the positive terminal. This one's back on the negative terminal. And you got to do so on the other side as well. So give me a minute and we'll have a completed thing. We'll get the air box in, everything set up, and we'll go from there.